So I arrived here, I want to say it was like a Friday or a Saturday. I had a big pickup truck full of lumber, and everybody who was supposed to help me was late. And so I was by myself just hanging out, like pretty nervous to what was going on. I haven't been in this neighborhood in recent times up to that point, and I was thinking, like, where are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? And what are we even doing at that time? I didn't know it would be a fist. Finally, when the volunteers and my friend Dylan shows up, who is helping me organize that day, we start to figure out, well, where are we going to build? And we wander over to the Fire Arts Center because we knew we needed to plug in for power tools. And they said, well, no, there's no room over in this spot. So we wandered over to another parking lot, and these food trucks are plugged in there, charging their generators or something. And they said, yeah, you can run an extension cord with our line. And all of a sudden, we're constructing, and I've never built something this big, and I'm thinking, is this the right thing to be doing? Like, is this safe to be doing? And a lot of what it turned out to be is, if I'm going to build something so large and tall, will it remain safe? Like, if a kid walks up, will someone push it over? And, I don't want anyone to get hurt. Will the wind knock it over? Would a car just knock it over? Would someone just burn it down? These were all running through my mind. Luckily, there was someone who was a little more skilled at building at the time, and they taught me about doing framed walls in the base to make it a lot stronger. And we quickly realized it would be so big that, no single person could just pick it up and walk away with it, which made it feel somewhat secure. It would take many people to walk with. And yeah, the first day of building, we get the base done, and I had to come back the second day, and there was hardly any volunteers showing up that day. And I said, well, I guess we got to finish the forearm and the top of the fist. And it was that kind of, well, once you start, like, you can't just leave this here. That would be a shame if someone just built all this stuff, made a mess, and just left it there. So I was like, well, we're gonna finish this. And as an artist goes, I want it to be like really nice and take the time to make it beautiful. And I felt like I had to throw that all to the side. And I just would look up and say, until it just looks like, resembles a fist at all. If it can resemble a fist, we're done. And so it got to this point where we got the shape of the hand, and it had no thumb. And so I asked, my one buddy finally showed up to help, and I said, can you work on the thumb? And then I started figuring out how we're going to do fingers. And pretty much those are the definitive features that it has. It has the thumb and the four fingers. And we spent the majority of the day figuring out that. And then we figured out how to put it up there, and people would walk by and we say, can you tell what we're building? And eventually someone said, yeah, I see it, it's a fist. So we knew we were close to done at that point. And we got to the point where it was all done, and we were painting it, and about 20 people lifted it up and then set it into the middle of the street. It felt good to finish. It didn't hit me until a couple weeks later what had really happened. I had to go back to Denver for my job at the time, and I started seeing pictures of it on Instagram with specifically young people standing in front of it with their fist raised. And I started putting it together like, oh, this is helpful. This is like different, and this is doing something in the space that's special. And so then I started to feel probably a little more settled with it, because there wasn't a clear answer of what we were all headed towards, and kind of still isn't, but now it's in an alignment that it's part of this process of like seeking justice, like how the square has become a space. I don't think it was called George Floyd Square immediately at all. I never heard that term when I was building that fist. But then eventually the term George Floyd Square comes around, and I see the fist sitting at the middle of it, and I feel like, just truly like a lot of gratitude that I got to contribute something that is like iconically a part of George Floyd Square, which has become this special space, unlike anywhere else in the world. And I mean, it feels like when I think back about it now, it feels like it took 30 seconds from start to finish, but that was like 2 of the longest days of my life in the moment.